Holidays, folks. Well, we've got a great holiday gift for you. A little bit of a surprise guest. I have talked to her in the past, but it has been a hot minute. And I saw an episode of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills that I kind of needed a little clarification on. And of course, I went to her insanely popular TikTok and she was able to clarify that for me. And maybe she can help clarify that for you. Plus, we need to talk about everything that's been going on since her triumphant one season on Real Housewives of Dallas, because we need her back on our screens. She's also the CEO of the most amazing candle line, Aromasthesia. And then also, she has a wine company, as you remember, 3 Moons Wine. And I have to tell you, 2 holidays ago, my mom was in town and my mom went to this event with me and talked Dr. Tiffany Moon's ear off. She acted like she was a housewife to Dr. Tiffany Moon, but I just let the cat out of the bag. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only Dr. Tiffany Moon. Welcome back.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
How the heck are you doing? I got to say, I really do. I see your TikToks and I miss you on our screens because it looks like you still have an insanely fabulous, but really hard life in terms of the work that you do.
Yeah, the work that I do is hard, but it's also extremely rewarding and gratifying. So I love what I do. I always tell people I don't need to work. So if you see me working, it's because I want to be working.
No, and it's amazing. I mean, because we even watched you on that season of Dallas where you were working during a pandemic and just the lengths that you had to go through to make sure that you and your family were safe on top of any patient that you dealt with. And I was just watching one of your TikToks about women in medicine and how important that is because women in medicine are still so underrepresented. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, 50% of medical students are now women. But as you get more senior in the academic or private practice world, there is a high attrition rate of women. In fact, I read recently that 40% of women go part-time or leave medicine altogether within 6 years of completing residency. And I was like, but why? Like, why would you go to all that school, bust your ass, finish residency, and then quit or go part-time? And like, what is wrong with the system? Because it's not the people. The people are fine. They're good people, most of them.
Yeah.
The system is broken because the system does not value the contributions that women make. That's why we're underpaid, compared to our male counterparts. And we're not promoted as much. We don't get as much leadership positions. I mean, I can go on. And this isn't me playing a small violin. There is research that has shown these things to be true. So I am just getting it out there because I want people to see it and recognize it. And then maybe we can start to brainstorm, what are we going to do about it?
I mean, that's one of the best ways to use the huge platform that you have. And I want to remind people, you were big on TikTok before Real Housewives of Dallas. Like that was one of the things we got introduced to you as a character through these videos that you made. And it is great that you are still out there doing it and just like still providing information. It's really funny, but then sometimes you will provide such great information or make a topic that we might not have awareness on. And you bring that to the forefront, which I always think is so important using your voice.
Yeah, my TikTok's a little bit, as my friend says, schizophrenic. She's like, you do fashion and beauty and skincare. Then you do like mom humor. Then all of a sudden you're like empowering women physicians and, unboxing Birkins. And she was like, what is this? And I'm like, well, that's me. Like what you just described is me as a person. So that's my TikTok. It's very scattered. A lot of people's TikToks is like very streamlined. They only talk about one thing and stay in their lane, but mine's like all over the place.
I mean, you contain multitudes. You contain multitudes. Now, the reason why I initially asked you here is because of your TikTok video you did after watching Real Housewives of Beverly Hills a couple weeks ago. Now, you were tagged in this clip a lot about Anna Marie Wiley, the new cast member, which I have not really taken to yet, but she was using Sutton's small, dainty esophagus against her in a conversation. And I still was I was having a hard time understanding large esophaguses, small esophaguses, strictures. Can you walk us through that? What actually is a small esophagus? What is a stricture? How do you deal with these things?
Okay, yes. I want to thank the people who tagged me and brought it to my attention because I am not caught up on this season's Real House of Beverly Hills because I just have a lot going on. And it kept showing up in my social media. And I watched the clip, but then I didn't feel that I could speak about it until I saw the whole episode because you can't just watch a clip out of context. So I watched the whole clip and I was like, oh no, it wasn't out of context. Like she was this bad. So the esophagus is a tube that connects your mouth to your stomach. And it can have scar tissue, which is called a stricture. That can be high up in the esophagus or more commonly lower down in the esophagus, right where the esophagus meets the stomach. When people have that scar tissue called a stricture and they swallow certain kinds of food, especially like meat or bread, things that are not liquid or more easily passable, they get this feeling that the food is like stuck in their,
Yeah.
like, I don't know how to describe it, but everyone's had it before. It's called dysphagia, problem swallowing. And it's actually a common problem, which is why I was kind of surprised that Anna
Oh.
Marie, who is a medical professional, like did not know anything. Like this is not some rare esoteric problem. Like
Oh my gosh, Dr. Moon,
esophagitis is super common.
after I talked about it on my show last week, I had so many people reach out to say, I have this problem, or my friend or my husband has this problem. And I wasn't aware how much of an issue this actually is, that it's fairly commonplace.
Yeah, it's very common. I mean, not very common, but fairly
Yeah.
common because the main causes of it are like GERD, which is very common, peptic ulcer disease, which is very common, and then less commonly eosinophilic esophagitis or cancer, which I'm glad.
Bless you.
Yeah, those are less common causes. But basically, she was just speaking incorrectly. Not only was she wrong, but she was like weaponizing her profession as a
Yeah.
healthcare worker to sort of tell Sutton how she should and should not be feeling and she should just chew her food more. When she said that, I was appalled. I was like, the way you treat an esophageal stricture is one, not to gaslight your patient, but two, not to tell them to chew their food more. Like that is so condescending. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like when the esophagus has a stricture, it doesn't matter how much you chew your food unless it's like liquid or smoothie and for sure it's going to pass the stricture. You're going to get that feeling of dysphagia and discomfort. And I just, when she said that, I was like, oh, now I got to say something. Now I was hoping that the clip was taken out of context. And then when I watched the whole episode that, you know what I mean? That there had been some editing or something. And I was like, no, let me give her the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to watch the whole episode. I did on a Saturday. I don't know. It had come out on like Wednesday or Thursday and I hadn't seen the 2 previous episodes. So I was like, who is this chick? Like, where did she come out of? Okay. So then I watched it and I was like, oh, like, no, it was just as bad as people said it was. So then I was like, okay, well, now I'm going to make a TikTok.
No, I mean, and you explained it brilliantly, like you just explained it, but it also, that point that stays with me is that you're not supposed to weaponize this profession, especially. There is a certain code of conduct with medical professionals that you guys hold very dear. So you can't go out there and try to make your bones as a housewife by gaslighting another woman about a medical condition.
Right. And like, who are you to be giving unsolicited medical advice to the host of a party? Like, no, I don't go to cocktail parties and like give people unsolicited medical advice. Sometimes people will ask me my opinion on something and I will say, that's not a familiar topic of mine, but this, and this. But she's like, nobody asked for her opinion. And it was Sutton's party to celebrate her store. And I just found that to be an extra incredibly rude step on top of that, like attacking the host at their own party.
But this, better than most, being an actual housewife, this is how certain new cast members will try to come in, throw everything against the wall to try to make a name for themselves. And in this case, it was just the wrong time, wrong place, wrong profession, and actual wrong knowledge to impart on somebody in front of cameras.
Correct. Yeah. And a lot of people were upset with me. They were like, wasn't your show canceled? Like, why are you talking? And I was like, first of all, like 20 people either sent me a DM or tagged me in the clip that Bravo posted and be like, hello. And then even after I posted, some of the comments were like, thank God you cleared this up for me. Or I actually came to your page looking to see if you spoke on this. So one, I was asked for my opinion. And two, I just it just baffles me the level of things that housewives do to like make a point. Now, I came in my season and made plenty of mistakes. So I'm not saying that, mistakes are inexcusable, but this one I felt compelled to speak up on because I felt that she was representing healthcare workers not well. And people were like, oh, this is like a nurse versus doctor thing. And I was like, no, 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 no. Like, I love the nurses and CRNAs that I work with. Some of them are very, very good. So do not make this about nurses versus doctors. I just think she, in this particular situation, was talking out of her ass. But I don't even know her. Maybe she's great otherwise. I've seen like 4 minutes of her on TV. So I'm just saying in this particular instance, she was not saying the appropriate thing.
Well, that's kind of 4 minutes is kind of the amount of screen time it seems like she's had this season, but that's neither here nor there. Now, you said you watched this past Saturday and you don't usually get to watch Housewives shows anymore because of your busy schedule. Did you have a little PTSD in watching a Housewives show after your experience on Real Housewives of Dallas?
A little bit, maybe like in 2022 I did, but now it's so far away from me that I'm over it. And the two franchises that I actually try to keep up with, because there's just so many that I can't possibly keep up with, are the two that I have actual friends on the show. So Miami because of Dr. Nicole, and then Beverly Hills because of Crystal. Like, they are my actual friends. I have their cell phone numbers. We can text regularly. And so because I know them, it's interesting for me to watch their shows. Whereas most of the other shows, I only know people like through social media, but we don't hang out and call each other. So those are the two franchises that I try to keep up with, but I've been doing a very bad job this year because I have so many other things going on.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody's going to hold that against you, Dr. Moon, but do you have a text thread with Dr. Nicole where you're like, she's saying a stricture is this? Like, I mean,
we're all in disbelief. I'm like, I asked her once, I was like, is she really this dumb? And she's like, yes, she is.
That's amazing. So I want to get to Real Housewives of Dallas before I want to move on to your products. That actually I do want to say I have these candles. I have the wine. I've drank the candles and eaten I've used the candles and drank the wine, and they're both amazing. But I do want to say about Real Housewives of Dallas, one of the coolest things about you posting that and it getting around housewife circles again was the overwhelming majority of those comments were, we need her back on our screens. Now, we've heard rumors about a reboot of Real Housewives of Dallas. I've always heard rumors of that with you at the forefront of that reboot. Is there any information that you could give us, any rumblings that you're a part of potentially? And I know you have to keep it close to the vest, but is there a possibility that we could get a reboot with you in the future?
I mean, I always say never, but I can tell you right now that I don't know of any kind of reboot happening. We were kind of talking about another series, not Real Housewives, that was in the works, but it kind of just didn't work out. So I don't know. I mean, I'm flattered that many of the people think that I should be back on their TV screens. I also know that a few people are like, please no, never again. I respect their opinions as well. I think that's fine. But I don't know. It was just it was one of those like weird, I'm going to try it and see how it is things with Housewives. And I tried it and I did it and I had a good experience sometimes and a bad experience sometimes, as you saw. But like, if I'm never on TV again, that's fine. It was not my intention to go on there and become this like breakout reality star. I just wanted to try it.
I know, but I said at the time, and I still hold true to this, is that you were so good on this. You are a reliable narrator. I always call the character that we can trust, but at the same time, you don't back down from a fight. And, we can always trust you. You don't back down from a fight, and you're funny. And I think those are really three things that we need in reality stars to fill out a cast. So, that's what I said at the time a couple of years ago that I was like, you will definitely be back on our screens in some form, but I know you are insanely busy. I just want to see it happen sooner rather than later. And I think, man, we hear all these rumblings about Real Housewives of Dallas. You would be one of the only people that I would want back on there, build the cast around you.
I don't know. I mean, never say never. They brought Miami back after how many years? Like 8 or something?
Yeah, it was a long time.
So maybe like we've been off air now, 2021, like 2 years. Maybe in 6 years, they'll reboot Dallas. And I might consider it at that time. We were also talking about a possible Married to Medicine.
Yes.
There was another franchise that I can't really say that's on Netflix. So, it could work out. But I always think that like, things that are meant to be work out. And if it doesn't work out, like, don't push it so hard. It's not meant to be, or it's not the right time or something. But, I think the universe has a way of bringing opportunities to you when you are ready to receive them.
I agree, but for the sake of this interview, can we lead with, yes, I am coming back to Bravo, page 6. That's the quote. Tiffany is coming back to Bravo.
I would like to submit my application to be Chief Bravo Medical Correspondent, so that anytime anyone on any of these shows says medical things, that it comes to me, I filter it, and then I respond in a easy to understand, digestible fashion for the general public. Andy, would you like my CV? How do I submit my CV?
That's really genius. Imagine if during that scene with Anne-Marie Wiley, it pauses and you pop up and go, hey, just clarification on what's being said right now. Wouldn't that be kind of amazing? And I really love that idea. Also, yeah, we could put you on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills with Crystal, so you could be part of the Crystal Garcelle team, and you can just take Anne-Marie Wiley head to head. I'm playing fantasy football in my head now, so sorry about that.
Let me just buy a place in Beverly Hills, and I'll just live there during filming.
Now, you are insanely busy. You have a full-time job. You have a family. How are the children? How's your husband?
They are good. They are out of school now for break, so they are in the other room.
Sorry about that.
I sat them in front of the TV and was like, don't come in the office for the next hour. They know. They're good kids. I am not full-time anymore. I'm part-time now.
Okay.
Which is fabulous because I still get to participate in medicine research, mentoring residents and medical students, but I also have time for other endeavors like my businesses that I run, social media stuff, going to volunteer for lunch duty at my kids' school. Those are things that I couldn't do when I was working full time at the hospital, but now I can. So I feel like I have a much better work-life balance.
Is the purse closet safe still good? Is where you keep all the purse? Is that still very
the closet is doing well. She has had some new additions to the closet lately, which you can follow on TikTok.
I miss, we do miss seeing that closet. The other thing in terms of, we know that you have the candle line, Three Moons wine, is that I always, and I suggested to you at the time, and then I just saw a DM that I had missed from a long time ago. I always wanted you to write a book, and I know you do medical journals. I know you participated in those, which a lot of the public really don't get to see or know about a lot of the times, but medical professionals do. Is there a book in your future? Because I feel like you have such an interesting story coming from your upbringing to reality, to medicine, to family, across the board. Is there a possibility for that in 2024?
It's funny you should ask because I am in the middle of writing my book. I'm actually at the tail end of it. I've been working on it all 2023. So part of the reason for me to go part-time was so that I would have time to write. So I have a book. It is supposed to be out in 2025. We don't have a solid title yet. We have a working title, but it's not cemented. But it's basically a memoir with a personal development angle, which is me telling the story of my life, coming to America, going to school, having kids, all that stuff. But at the end of each chapter, there are some takeaway points for the reader to bring into their own lives and hopefully to help them think about things that are going on in their own lives so that they can become their most truest, authentic, and happiest self.
Well, I will be buying the first copy of that because that sounds amazing. But what is the process for you of writing? Is it one of the most difficult things you've had to do? I mean, you are a genius in so many other avenues. Have you found the writing process difficult?
Yes, the writing process is difficult. I mean, I've written probably like 50 or 60 scientific manuscripts, book chapters, things like that. But this is like, we had this hypothesis, so we decided to do this study. This is what we did. These are our results. This is what we think about our results. It's not like, oh, I came from China, had a really terrible childhood, kids picked on me, like all that kind of stuff. And many of the things that I talk about in my book, to be honest, I had suppressed those things for a long time. You just don't deal with it, like package it nicely and put it in the back of the closet. So as I was writing, especially some of those earlier chapters, it was cathartic in a way, but I had to make some extra appointments with my therapist because it was like bringing out all these sort of repressed bad feelings. So that was hard. And also it's hard to write because all day I feel like I'm running around putting out fires and staying at the surface. And I think writing is such a deep activity. So I try to block out like 4 hours of quiet time. I shut off my phone, make sure that my kids are being taken care of, make sure nobody really needs me acutely. And then I try to use that time to like really get deep and write.
Wow. I mean, it does seem like such a difficult process to have to dig up everything and put it in a book format for us to consume. I mean, it's just, it's a different form of reality television, but a much deeper form because that thing is there forever. I mean, reality television is as well, but this is truly you in your own words, and you can't blame an edit on that.
Right, right.
Aromasthesia candles. That's your candle line, correct?
Yes.
Now, I know we're at the holidays already. This is potentially way too late to buy this for a holiday gift, but I do want to suggest you're going to get holiday cash, you guys. This might be the place to spend your not hard earned, given holiday cash. The thing that's so amazing about your candles, they smell amazing, but at the same time, can you explain like the labels and how each one is a different form of medicine?
Oh gosh, they're so dorky. When I made these candles was mid-pandemic and it was kind of a hobby that turned into a business. But all of the candles are named after drugs, mostly anesthetic drugs.
Yeah,
And
propofol, right?
the propofol is for humans who need a nap. And they have these like on the back label, they have these indications for use and then like potential side effects like you would get on a bottle of Tylenol or something.
Yeah.
And they're sort of tongue in cheek. Like one of the indications for use is like, if anyone's ever told you that you have a resting bitch face, like those kinds of things. So it brings a little bit of my humor, which is not for everyone, to the candles. They are hand poured in Dallas still to this very day, triple scented, made with all non-toxic ingredients. And I consider them a luxury product. It's not a Target candle, no shade to Target candles. But they are a premium product that I feel like encompasses not just like a candle, but like a mood. Like when you light this candle, that's your self-care time. I don't care what happened at work today, what happened with the kids today, but like now you are to take care of yourself for the next 30 to 45 minutes.
I love that. And I also want to say, even though there is a sense of humor behind it, they look really classy, you guys. It's not like some wacky, like there's colors everywhere. It's really like the label is really nice. The back of it's really nice. So it does look classy. If somebody were just to see it, you'd be like, oh, that's a nice candle. And then you look at it and you might get a little bit of a smirk or a laugh out of it. So I do want to say that as well. I'm going to put the link in the show description, you guys, and I'll put it in my stories when this gets released as well. And then I wanted to talk about Three Moons Wine, which we saw on your season of Dallas. You guys take this very seriously. How did you produce this wine?
Our wine is made in Napa and Sonoma. We have a winemaker. We have a facility. We don't have a vineyard like where you can go to the tasting room and visit it because we don't have that much production. But we've been doing this since, 2009. My husband really was the one who started the whole winemaking process. And then I became involved probably 5-6 years after that because he was only making a Cab Sauv. And I don't really want to drink a Cab Sauv all the time. Like it's heavy, it's tannic, it dries out your mouth. Now I need a filet mignon. Like it's just too much. So I wanted to make a white wine, a sparkling, and then a more approachable red. That's a proprietary red blend. And so now he continues to make the Cab Sauv and I make the other three wines. We've like sold out year after year after year. And I'm like, I wish I could go back to 2019 and like make more Cab Sauv, but I can't because that's just how much we made. Not to mention that like I drink half of our inventory.
Guys, if you're listening to this and not watching it, she is drinking her product right now. So I just want to point out she is drinking what we could potentially buy because she's greedy like that. She's greedy.
I mean, why run a business if you can't have some perks?
Well, I mean, so when you realize these things are popular, do you put more into production? I mean, do you look forward in the future to 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line?
Yeah, we are looking into more production because we have now like 5 hotels in the DFW area and we serve the wine at our hotels. Well, we did until it sold out. But we are trying to ramp up production, but it's kind of difficult because we don't have our own winery. We source our grapes from other wineries that have excess production that year. And it's not that simple, but yes, we are trying to ramp up production.
Oh gosh. Well, it's delicious. I'm going to put the link to that as well. It goes with everything. There's something for each one of your palates. as we start winding down here, because you've been so generous to hop on at the last minute, especially during the holiday season, I wanted to go back to Dallas really quick. Any contact with Mama D still?
Oh, Mama D's great. She's like 83 now. She just had surgery not too long ago. She's doing fabulous. She is just sharp as a tack. I think she's going to live to be 100, you guys, because she just
Yeah.
does not miss a beat. You know what I mean? And she goes to the
Yeah.
doctor like every other day. So we know she's healthy.
Well, I mean, let's pray for her esophagus, right? Let's make sure it's a
Mama D's
normal
esophagus is doing much better than Sutton.
Yeah,
Her
much better than-
esophagus is fine. I never knew that the esophagus would receive so much national attention.
well,
Like, if the esophagus was ever feeling like it was a forgotten part of the anatomy, this
Not
week
anymore.
the esophagus is like, everybody's talking about me.
the esophagus is expanding, bursting with joy. I will say that's what I love about Housewives, though, is that was kind of a weirdly ridiculous scene because all of a sudden we're fighting over esophaguses. But at the end of the day, it does actually give attention to a medical issue that people deal with. So in some senses, it turns out to be a good thing, even though it's extremely silly on its face on TV.
Yes, and I prefer this kind of silly banter because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. I think Anna Maria probably just, wasn't speaking right, but I don't know her at all. She's probably lovely otherwise. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I prefer this kind of housewife fighting as opposed to the kind that ended my season, because the kind that we had was like going after people and their jobs and their families and that
it
sort
got
of thing.
so
And I was like,
messy
it got
and
so
dark.
toxic. And I was like, what are you guys doing? So
Well, and
I prefer this kind of housewife fodder.
Well, and you guys, just to remind the audience, it was so bad. I mean, it wasn't just even on screen; it was off screen, like everything with the
mostly
Westcots.
off screen that was nasty.
And it was really scary because it seemed like for a time that it was ramping up, and it just seemed like everybody was in attack mode. And I thought that was so weird. And you guys, they had one of the weirdest reunions due to COVID. I mean, like most of the people were there by a gigantic TV screen. You had Brandy talking like she was like on a IMAX screen at some point.
Yeah, that reunion was the nail in the coffin. I was like, forget it. And then my nose bled like the last 5 minutes of reunion. My blood pressure was so high. I was like, this is it. This is God telling me, like, no more for you. Like, you are done.
I mean, your first reunion and that, I mean, like, it was just that you were so intense. I mean, do you keep in touch with anybody from the cast? I know you get asked this all the time.
No, I mean, I keep in touch with Deandra. I say basically the answer is I keep in touch with the same people that I kept in touch with before I filmed Housewives, which is Deandra and the seventh housewife, who I consider to be Mama D.
So the Westcots didn't get a holiday card this season. they don't get a free candle or anything like that?
No, they did not receive anything. We are in our separate corners. Like, I don't wish them harm, but I need them to stay out of my life and out of my business.
Yeah. Well, but that's what I loved about you. And, we talked about that at the beginning, is that you never needed this show. And that's the other kind of perfect housewife for me, that they don't need it, because with a lot of housewives, you sense then they get involved in this and they need it. It becomes the only thing. So when they get off the show or their show gets canceled, it's this mad scramble to try to get back on TV, or the panic, or like wanting to be available for when it comes back. And you don't have to deal with any of that, which is so amazing.
The advice I give to people is never have your identity be wrapped up in one thing, whether that's being a housewife, being the wife of so-and-so, or the mother of so-and-so. Those are all wonderful things. But if you wrap up your whole identity in one thing and that one thing doesn't work out for some reason, you are really screwed. So like you diversify your portfolio, ladies, diversify your life as well.
That's brilliant. And then finally, you said you are friends with Crystal, and I know you've been friends for a while. How did you guys meet?
We met because of Housewives, basically. She was filming a little bit after I was filming, and she called to ask for some advice because she was getting some social media commentary that was not flattering. And she was like, how do you put up with all this?
Yeah.
And we also did like a joint thing because at that time, AAPI hate was on the rise. And we did a joint thing with Bravo just to talk about our support of the AAPI community. And Crystal is exactly who you see on television. I can tell you that she is not putting on a facade. She is quiet, but she is watching. She has opinions. She's whip smart, really funny. And sometimes I think people just need to give her a little bit more of a chance because she's fabulous. I adore her.
Oh, I mean, it is like she's one of the only housewives I actually got to go over to their place and hang with her and Rob for an evening. And they were just both, I mean, Crystal's always been amazing, but it was really fun to watch that dynamic of her and Rob. And it just was so normal, you guys. It was just so normal. I mean, it was very witty, very funny, but it wasn't like putting on airs. It was just so normal, which is what she appears like on screen. And that's why I call her a reliable narrator as well. So unfortunately, you can't tell me anything to embarrass Crystal right now on this podcast.
No, I adore her. I don't have anything bad to say about her. I really don't.
Okay, well, Dr. Tiffany Moon, happy holidays. I want to remind people once again, the candle line is Aromasthesia. The Three Moons Wine is the wine company that we will put all of that information out there. I think this is a perfect gift for your loved ones at any time. In fact, just get some, have it in the back when you get invited to something last minute and you can bring it with you. And then how else do we support you? What else do you want us to pay attention to? Of course, your TikTok, but what else is out there that we should be paying attention to?
I mean, just support me on social media. And in 2025, I would love it if you guys would buy my book.
Will you come back on in 2025? Can I get a book interview?
For sure.
Okay.
For sure. We're going to do a little book tour.
Any advice at these holiday dinners about proper esophagus usage at the dinner table?
Just chew your food better.
Chew your food. But it's not. If you do have a stricture, though, that's not going to do. You got to do a smoothie or something. That's not going to do it. Overly chewing. So, Dr. Tiffany Moon, always a pleasure to talk to you. I'm so thankful that you came on today, and I hope you have the best rest of your holiday.
Thank you, Ryan.